Hi, this is Dyce Kimura. I'm a Miami guitar teacher, and today I am talking to advanced guitar students. I wanted to do a video blog just about some things that I've seen in advanced students, and maybe I can help you. So this video is specifically targeted toward people that are hitting a wall in their playing. If you've been playing for at least 2 years and you've been learning on your own or just with some courses or tutorials, maybe you took some classes here or there, but you're hitting a wall and you feel stuck and you're not getting much better, I want to talk to you. Okay, so if you've already been practicing, I assume you're probably pretty smart. You're able to learn on your own. You're able to teach yourself. You're able to go on YouTube and figure stuff out on your own. But you can't seem to get any better than you are now. Okay, you got fundamental problems in the way you're playing, and you're not even sure what the problem is or why. You just know that if you do something a little too complex, you can never solve it. Okay. I want to talk about what could possibly be going on in your playing, in your curriculum, in your practicing routine that is the problem. I'm a full-time guitar teacher, and I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of advanced students. They come into my office after already playing for years, sometimes decades. I got a guy right now, he's been playing for 50 years by himself, and then he finally came to come see me. So I have situations like that where I am interacting with people that have been at this for a really long time, and they finally decide to come see me, and they're stuck. Okay, so if you are stuck, then you got to be willing to take a look at what you're currently doing and what you're not doing and what's working and what's not working. Okay, so a lot of people that I'm meeting that have made it like self-taught but advanced on their own, the way they got to where they are is they took a lot of, let's say, courses, online courses, or they did a bunch of YouTube stuff, and it had a lot to do with just copying what they see on the screen. You know, monkey see, monkey do. You know, so they learn a chord, and the guy shows them a chord, and then they learn a song, you know, because they saw the video, they play a song, they read the tabs. But they're having fundamental issues. They don't know how to improvise, for instance. They can learn a song note for note, but they can't really improvise. You know, they can't understand the application of scales and modes. They're struggling with basic music theory, like when does a minor chord work versus a major chord, how to write chord progressions. And a lot of times there'll be funny little quirks in their playing too, like they don't use their pinky. They're not fluid with alternate picking, even though they think they are. Okay. They don't really understand the fundamentals of rhythm, like eighth notes and backbeats and stuff. They didn't really take the time to learn the pentatonic scales because they seemed too easy, and they went after much harder scales like Mixolydian or Dorian or Aeolian, and then couldn't even play basic stuff. Okay. And then sometimes they have issues with gear too, like they just can't make their gear sound good, and they keep buying more crap to hook into it hoping it'll sound good, you know. So I experience all kinds of people that are coming into my office with varying degrees of frustrations when it comes to playing the guitar, and I just want to address that. So this is just such a huge topic, but it's exciting for me to work with advanced students, and it's also challenging for me to work with advanced students. Sometimes they have like what I would call a holy grail mentality or a silver bullet mentality. So what it is they're at a level of, let's say, 100, and their goal is to get to, like, let's say 350, and they just start doing songs at 350 that are way above their level. But in their head they say, well, if I can get this song figured out, then I will actually be at 350. And these people are usually really smart people. It's usually the people that they're so smart in life that they're like, you know what, I've taken a lot of shortcuts. I always figure out the fastest, quickest way to get things done. So I can just cut to the chase here. I can get the tabs, I can get the Songster, the Guitar Pro, I can get the software that's going to teach me, and I can just play these complex songs. And they've been feeding themselves a steady diet of 350, and they're actually at 100, okay? And it doesn't, and they're stuck. I keep stressing the fact that they're stuck, because if this is you but you're not stuck, then this really doesn't pertain to you. This only pertains to those that are stuck. Imagine if you did that behavior, if you were a 100 and you went against 350 all the time. If you, let's say, did that exact same mentality, but you did it in the gym, okay? You can lift 100, but you always put on 350. What would happen to you? You know, you would probably need surgery, multiple surgeries. Imagine if you did that with trying to learn a language. You know, let's say you're in 2nd grade and you're trying to, you know, get a PhD, but you're really in 2nd grade. So these are usually people that are pretty smart. They figured out the game, you know what I'm saying? And they're just cutting right to the chase. Or they're impatient and they want, I'm not trying to vilify you if this is you, because I'm using some negative connotations like impatient, but there is some frustration there about things not happening quick enough on your timeline. So they're circumventing 100 and 105 and 110 and 115. They're going straight to 350. And they get the 350 song, they get the silver bullet, and there's this big lie, this big delusional lie that says that if you can play that, you'll actually be at that level, okay? I used to do that. When I was 16, I had a silver bullet mentality, and I wanted to play Little Wing by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I spent the whole summer, I bought the book. This is back in the 90s, we didn't have any internet, so I bought the book, and I had the music stand, and I sat there in a chair all summer long, and I learned to play it note for note. And to my credit, I did it, okay? At least like half of it. But I still, and I did improve from that, okay? But I still had fundamental issues with my playing, you know? So what I want to say is that what you really need to do is to really properly assess yourself. A lot of students that I interact with, they end up, because they've had no coaching and they've done it all on their own, they end up kind of delusional in thinking, okay, and this is the key, in thinking they're at 350. But when I come to see them, I said, you know what, I think we need to go back to 100. I think you need to go back to 100. I think you missed some fundamental things in 100. Oh, by the way, I want to say this. Usually these people that are stuck, that are advanced, they've never played in a band, or they've barely played in bands, okay? That's usually the theme, okay? And the reason that's so important is they never took and applied the stuff they're learning in the real world, okay? And imagine, once again, if you did that with learning anything else in life, if you tried to do that with tennis, let's say, if you just went for 10 years and you just played tennis, you just played against the wall for 10 years, you're just beating that tennis racket against the ball, and you're nailing it, you're playing against the wall, and you're just thinking, man, I'm way up here in my rankings. And then the day comes, you actually get in the tournament, and you totally get crushed, okay? But you stick with it, and you realize you had the time of your life, because you finally learned what the game was all about, okay? One more analogy. Imagine if you do that same thing that you never played in a band. Imagine you do that trying to learn another language. Like you're trying to learn Russian, let's say, and you're here in America. So you get the software, you get the Rosetta Stone, you know, and you're getting 100% on all your tests and quizzes, and you can do everything perfectly. You memorized everything. It's immaculate. You're an A+ student, right? So in your mind, you start to think you're pretty hot stuff, you know, and then the day comes where you get on a plane and you go to Moscow and you sing, "Where's the bathroom?" and you're stuck and nobody knows what you're talking about. They're talking to you way faster in a different dialect than the girl in the software. They got ebonics and slang, and maybe they don't like you because you're American. I don't know. But anyway, this is the same. If you try to learn music in the way you would try to learn tennis or another language, let's say, that just wouldn't work if you don't learn to apply it. Okay, so what happens is usually these are smart people that are busy, and they're just on their own learning on the internet, and they really want to get good. They've invested a lot of time and money, energy, resources, a big part of their life. If you go to their house, maybe they even have a whole music room and dedicated to music, but they won't go that extra step to learn to apply what they're using into real life situations. And that's just like the tennis player, is just like the Russian student. They're going to be a little bit off. They're going to be a little bit funny because they've never actually been in the game. Okay. And a lot of those guys, they come to see me and I have a good time with them and we have this discussion. But I have to get into the pathology there, because one of the issues that I have to really confront, if that's the case, is I'm dealing with somebody that in their mind they think they're 350 and they're actually 100. And don't get me wrong, some areas they are a 350. I have people that, let's say, they don't know how to do a basic pentatonic scale, or they don't know how to do some basic improvisation in E minor nice and slow at like 80 BPMs, you know? And yet they're over here, they're working on C sharp Mixolydian, you know? And it's like, dude, like, you don't even know how to apply that. You would never even learn that and use that in a situation, you know? So one piece of advice, if this is you, okay? Take everything that you're learning and everything that you're trying to learn, you want to make it apply to what you currently know. And that's how you build, you know? So if you're learning, you know, some basic stuff, you know, like, I don't know, basic chords and use of chords and you know, in basic riffs, and then you learn this really hard song or a really hard scale, let's say, that's not connected to anything you're currently doing. You learn a scale, but you're not using it in any songs, there's no backing track to jam to, you're just learning it for the sake of your own intellectual stimulation. Then that's probably, if you do that consistently as a habit, you're gonna have this hodgepodge, spotty knowledge of music that's like not connected, okay? And you're not gonna have this application for what you know to use it in the real world, okay? And then you're gonna end up being delusional because you're gonna think that you're way up here, but you're actually way down here, okay? So I encountered that a lot, okay? And I want to address some of the source of where this is coming from, okay? And it's not a bad thing, but it's the internet, okay? The internet is a great invention. I love it. I love it. I'm talking to you on YouTube right now. I'm blogging constantly. I'm all over Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Internet is awesome. But it starts to breed these types of people because there's this instant accessibility to complex ideas that prior to the internet, you had to actually know a person that had these ideas. Maybe you could get a book, but you're not going to get as far with a book as you can with just a YouTube video. And so what happens is you start to have these people that are advanced and learning on their own, and they'll just pull up a YouTube video or just Google something like, I wonder how to do, you know, sweep arpeggios in, you know, a harmonic minor scale at 160 BPMs in 16th notes. Let's just Google that, okay? And boom, there it is. And they just start working on it. And action is good, but without the practical application, their wheels are just spinning. What's even worse, okay, is when they're struggling with it and then they book a lesson to come see me and then they go, now you need to explain this to me. And I'm like, you can't even comprehend this stuff, man. I mean, you think you're 350, you really need to be over here at 100, maybe working at like 105, you know, so you can get like a nice burn, you know. Let's not go to the emergency room because you ripped your shoulder off at 350. So that's sometimes a challenge that I have to get into the pathology. So the internet is great because there's so many ideas, okay? But I just want to caution you, if you're stuck, again, if you're stuck and if you're advanced and you're only learning online, and you've never played in bands, okay, and you have done very little one-on-one private teaching, then you're like that guy playing tennis against the wall. That's what you are. I want you to know that, and I'm saying that to help you to realize, hey, get out there, get in a jam, get on Craigslist, maybe meet some people. Not everyone's going to stab you in the neck on Craigslist, I found. But get out there and take a risk, you know, go to the open mic and take a chance, you know, and see if you're really worth your salt, you know. So the internet, it's spawning kind of a new generation of guitar players that are kind of like ADHD. They're like, give me something quick, give me it easy, give me it quick, and they won't take the time to actually really learn a concept or a groove or let it sink in. And some things you can learn intellectually, but a lot of things on the higher levels, when you get to intermediate and advanced, you have to do it and keep doing it, and then they start to become more apparent. And in becoming more apparent, then we can talk about it because your mind is open to the concept. And then we continue to do it, and I challenge you in different ways, and then you really get the concept. And then you realize in 2020 hindsight that if I just laid it all on your lap as when you were just learning the concept, it would have completely blown your mind and rocked your world. Okay? Like, what am I talking about? Like improvising, let's say, in the E minor pentatonic, and you know, let's say you're in G major, and so you can play in E minor, but E minor is actually E minor Aeolian, or you could use G major, you know, or you could use A Dorian, or you could use B minor Phrygian, right? Or C Lydian, or D Mixolydian, you know, or even F sharp Locrian. Like, these are all mode of playing that apply to the same concept, the exact same scale with a different spin on it. Okay? What else? How about maybe playing an E major? And you could use the relative minor and C sharp minor. Okay? But then you say, well, I want to be able to use E minor pentatonic and E major pentatonic at the same time. You know? How do I do that? You know? That's a really fun topic to talk about if you're advanced, okay? But if you don't even know the E minor pentatonic, we really can't go there. Just because you can comprehend that you want that doesn't mean you're ready for that lesson, okay? Sorry to get technical just now, but I wanted to give you some real life application of what I'm actually talking about. And this is stuff that I encounter in lessons all the time. So the challenge is to really be able to get people to be willing to take the haircut, because a lot of people, you know, they're on this, they're smart people, they're stuck, they're frustrated, you know, they come in paying for lessons, they're spending good money, and they just want a silver bullet, you know, and it doesn't work that way. You know, when I was learning to play in the 80s and 90s, I'm dating myself now, but it didn't work that way. You know, I went to my teacher. I had to walk to the train station, which was 10 minutes. Then I had to ride 2 trains to go see him, and it took like an hour. And then I would wait in the lobby, and then I would wait to be seen. And then I would have my 30-minute lesson, which I had to work 2 paper routes to pay for. And then I would ride the trains home, and then I would walk home carrying my guitar, and I would go practice it. And I'd practice 8 to 10 hours a day, okay? And I would go right back to him, the same exact guy, if I had a question about the thing that he was teaching me. And so I ended up being very thorough in my building. And I'm playing 8 to 10 hours a day, and I was always playing in bands, several bands at the same time. Plus I was going to shows, plus I was hanging out in studios, plus all my money was spent on CDs and books. I was ravenous for the information, but I was getting a very thorough application, and that's how I learned to play. Nowadays, people are learning something they see on YouTube, and then an hour later they're working on something from somebody else, and they just consume that and they work on it. It's like a little snack. And then the next day they'll maybe download a course on how to play slide guitar in open G. And then the next day maybe they'll, you know, learn some modal stuff, and then hey, here's a guy on YouTube teaching, oh, I saw somebody on Snapchat doing this thing real quick, what's that? You know, and then they end up getting like this ADHD, like fast food diet of music with no band experience, no application, never learning Russian, never been to Russia, playing tennis, never gotten a tournament. And you're gonna end up, if this is you, you're gonna end up delusional. You're gonna end up thinking you're way up here, and you're gonna get crushed to find out you're down here. I wanna help you. That's why I'm making this video. By the way, it's the same issue, the same kind of mentality with gear, you know? Listen, if you can't get a good guitar sound, if you have a good guitar and a good amp, okay? And you just plug your guitar straight in the amp, if you can't get a good or even great guitar tone just with those two factors, then don't keep buying more pedals. You know, don't think that another pedal is going to be the holy grail. You just need to learn how to turn those knobs and play that thing in a way that sounds lovely, you know. So this is all stuff that I encounter all the time. So I just want to say that teaching music, it's an art and it's a science. Okay. I have to get into the head of the student and figure out what's going on with them, what they're thinking, how are they perceiving things, and why they're perceiving it that way, and what led up to them becoming this way. And then how can I explain it in a way that's palatable, that's really going to help them, and the whole time to encourage them, while at the same time bringing them down to reality. This is for advanced students, by the way, not for beginners. That's a lot right there. That's what a good private guitar teacher does, okay? It's just the teaching game has changed so much with the internet. Again, I'm not against the internet. I'm on the internet right now talking to you. But if you're using the internet in this way, try to check yourself, you know? So what are some solutions, you might ask, if this is you? Well, you can come see me for a lesson. I'm available on Skype and also in person in Miami. But if that's not an option for you, get in a band. And if you can't get in a band, get in a duo, get in a trio, get in a quartet, get in some kind of situation where you're playing music, okay? And it will challenge you. And learn how to get into situations where you can be an asset to that group, as opposed to making the group an asset for you. See where you can contribute and give, as opposed to how the group can, you know, if you're like a heavy metal guy, that's all you practice all the time is just lead guitar with heavy metal, and then you're struggling to find a band because you're just trying to find people that'll back you up, okay? And then all you can find, let's say, is a country band where they want you to play bass, okay? Do it. If you've never, listen, if you want to get good, I'm talking to people who want to get good. If you want to get good, there shouldn't be any limitations with what you need to do, okay? And by the way, a lot of playing music is about human relations and social intelligence, okay? A lot of the greatest bands in the world, they break up because they can't get along. So if you're able to merge and blend into group situations, you'll become a better player, you'll become a better person. And a lot of, you know, jaggedness or issues or developmental problems or things that you might have missed, or even this form of the musician's delusion that I keep talking about, that will get solved if you can do this, okay? So hopefully that helps you. It's interesting. I really get a lot out of looking on the internet. I mean, I'm all over Instagram and stuff. And like when I'm on Instagram, they give you 1 minute, okay? There's a 1 minute video you can put on. And same with YouTube. On YouTube, I can go more in depth. But a lot of times, people's attention span, it's like a minute, okay? Maybe 20 seconds. You know, you better like wow me in 20 seconds, you know, or I'm going to go to the next thing. And so because there's that underlying theme of urgency, people are just like they're just giving it all they got. Like, this is just extreme. I just need to captivate your attention so you can stay and subscribe to me, you know? And because players are exposed to that, then that becomes their expectation, and that becomes what they can do. But how little that works in real life, it's interesting, you know. And there's many correlations here, but I'm going to keep it just to music. But I see it in all walks of life that I see on the internet, and how it applies to all types of different social situations. Anyway, so feel free to subscribe. Definitely leave me a comment if you have any questions about what I'm talking about, or if this is resonating with you. I would love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, send me an email, dice@dicekimura.com. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and I will see you next video. Thanks so much.